Okay, this may be a hot take. We'll see how this one goes. For 2 million years, Homo erectus lived on the world, no problem. Technology didn't improve because it didn't have to. We were just another animal in the planet, or on the planet, in balance with the animals and nature. The concept of progress and better are alien concepts to the rest of the animals on the planet. Look around and it's clear we are quite alone in this mindset. Why do we need progress? What are we improving towards? What is the definition of a better life? It was this shift in thought, the idea of good and evil, that disconnected us from the natural state of the world. From this, we began this process of growth for growth's sake, seeing ourselves as separate from the earth, as that's the only way one can justify these actions, which lead into the hoarding of wealth and then the subsequent creation of reasons for hoarding wealth. This, in my opinion, is a mental defect, not a positive trait. However, it became dominant as it sees generosity as weakness. Without abundance, the source dries up and the people die out. We went from a community surviving together to a person building up wealth for their own sake. This concept was not possible alone before technology and society was developed to assist in it. I believe this may be a big reason why agriculture really began. People stopped contributing to the collection and storing of food and also began consuming more than required. This increased demand for food, with fewer people contributing to the work required that they had to optimize to keep up. It was a job for the poor, hard work, but quickly became quite profitable as all people need to eat and methods became more established. This then required the creation of writing and recording information. This led to the need for governance over the process and created standardization, which led to planning and structure. Then leaders, then this led to then competition, then war. Right before the land was the land, before the land was the land. If someone was an issue, you just moved away. Then the land became our land, right? So it's our land now. This, of course, has no true meaning beyond humans, right? To say I own this land means nothing to the world. However, to other humans, that means something, right? But a bear is not going to walk up to me and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to trespass." They don't care. It doesn't mean anything. It's not real, right? The boundary of my property is not real. It's real to us, right? It's real to our society, but it's not real. There's no actual boundary there. There's nothing stopping anything from crossing that line other than we said so, right? Possession and protection became important, and so all had to match the mindset or be wiped out. This is not how it has to be, right? It is not how it should be. Where are we going? Why do we need more? More for one means less for another, right? So basically, after my ramble there, right, what I'm saying is that pretty much at some point, a survival trait developed in the minds of either a person or a community that their survival was more important, right, than the rest. And this became a dominant, this became, if after they, started thinking this way, it started to be the truth, right? Because if you have 5 communities that are around you that said, "Oh, you're hungry? Oh, we'll give you food. Oh, yeah, we can help you out," right? But then when they ask for food, you say, no, we're not giving you any of our food, right? All of a sudden, now they have to not give you food, because if they give you food, they know they get none in return. Rather than it be an equal in exchange, everyone helps each other out. Now it's everyone's on their own, everyone has to fend for themselves. And so once one community started working this way, it forced every other community to adapt or be wiped out. If they continued to give generously without having the means to do so, they were going to eventually, run out of things to give, right? And so over time, this kind of transitioned. I think it probably started mainly as, in a community, right? And it slowly developed into surrounding communities. And because most likely what really led to this is probably something around religion, right? Because religion potentially was like, oh, I'm the most important, right? I'm the most important, so I don't do work, right? Everyone has to give me things, right? Because I'm the most important, I'm in charge, right? Leaders, I guess, got corrupt, right? And so people they were doing less work, right? They weren't contributing, but they were still over-consuming, right? So corrupt leaders potentially was a big impetus for this change, right? Because when people started saying, I don't do work, you feed me, you do the work, right? And then they would eat in abundance rather than, rationing so that everyone would have food. It meant that all the people providing food would have to make more food. And so, again, like I said, they had to optimize the whole thing. They're like, okay, well, I can go out and try and scavenge all this food, or I can try and, cultivate this food right here, where the conditions are ideal, so that I don't have to constantly be scavenging for this food. And so over time, this then developed into what we consider agriculture now, as it got better and better. And in the beginning, it was for the peasants farm, right? And even in medieval times, the peasants were the ones that farmed the land, but they didn't own the land, right? This is just some leftovers of this structure, right? And so they farmed the land. However, the people that owned the land were rich. They were wealthy because they had the food. Because the food is, everyone needs to eat. So initially, the way you showed your wealth was not through, money. It was through your goods. It was through the food you had, through the cattle and animals that you had, right? That is how you showed how wealthy you were. That's why, in the Bible and stuff, they're usually talking about giving cattle and things along those lines, not giving them hordes of money as a gift necessarily, right? So I think that this is kind of where this happened, and I really do think that this is not the natural way of things. This is not the way the world works. All the other animals don't really function on this kind of logic necessarily. I'm not saying every animal is altruistic and is out there helping every other animal. However, they do not overindulge more than necessary typically, right? And a part of that is probably because they don't have the means to, right? They don't have the capability to overindulge because they got to work for their food. This is not the natural state of the world. Like, we are not in balance. There's no balance here. There's no, community. It's just very individualistic, very cut off, very isolated. And we see the world as separate from ourselves. We see ourselves as above the world. We see ourselves as placed on the world to have dominion over it, rather than being placed on the world as a part of it and as, potentially caretakers of it. We're right. So there's two ways to look at it. Oh, I'm here to tend the garden, all right, or it's I'm here to control the garden, right? And you're doing pretty much the same thing in both scenarios, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? Because when you say I'm the controller of the garden, it sounds a lot more domineering, a lot more forceful. But when you say I'm here to tend the garden, right, then it sounds like you're here to nurture it, you're here to help it, right? You're not here to, basically take advantage of it. Whereas when you control it, it kind of sounds like, that's what you're there to do. You're there to, take advantage of it. And basically I'm just saying that this is, in my perspective, this is a disease. This is not something to be encouraged. This is something to be ashamed of, in my opinion. To be desiring more, and to be doing things better and better and better, and all this progress, like, where are we going? As I said, where are we going? When does it end? It never ends, right? So at what point do we decide good is good enough, right? And the answer is, oh, it'll never be good enough. But like, why, right? Does it need, how much better does life need to get, right? The reality is that basically all the problems of the world can be solved if we stopped wasting all of our resources on stupid things like military might and big super yachts and random, like just all the luxury stuff, like having mega mansions and having, again, mega yachts and having, private jets, all these things, those are not necessities. They're not even close to necessities, right? So all of these things like this, like, oh, you need to get more money so you can have more things, so you can have bigger things, because bigger and more is always better. And that's not true. That's not true. So I don't really know what the end game here is. I don't know where it is that we think we're going. I think that we're so focused on progress, we don't even know what progress means, right? We're saying, oh, we got to keep those numbers going up. The economy is always going higher, right? Everything is always bigger and better than it's ever been. I don't think that that's healthy, and it's definitely not sustainable, right? Like, there's no way you can keep this growth going forever. Growth comes in cycles, right? You need to rest every once in a while, right? You need to have times to where things, take a break, right? If you run any machine, right, at 100% capacity, right, for, forever, it's gonna fail. Just like if you have any person, go without sleep for, forever, they're gonna fail too, right? They're gonna pass out. They're not gonna make it, right? Because everything works in these cycles of growth and, and reconsolidation, right? It's all over on like, if you look at the stock market and stuff, like everything goes up and then it comes down a little bit and then it goes up and then it comes down a little bit. This is just the way that things are. However, you can only build a tower so high before it's just not structurally sound anymore, right? You may have had a good base at one point, but just because the structure was good for, say 100 feet doesn't mean it's going to be good for 1,000, right? So you really need to kind of think about that stuff before you keep stacking more on top. It doesn't work like that, right? You gotta stop building up, start building out before you build up more, right? Like, this is just simple logic. It's not like, it's just so embarrassing how simple and like uncomplex this concept is, and yet we don't embody it in the slightest. Like, we're just like, we just ignore the most logical things. Like, you explain this to anyone and they're gonna say, no, yeah, that makes sense. Meanwhile, we don't do it. Like, what are we doing? It's so ridiculous. I went on another rant. What am I talking about? Yeah, so basically everyone's hoarding all their stuff, right? And because everyone's hoarding everything, oh, resources are scarce. I need your resources. You can't have my resources, right? Well, now we go to war, right? And then they had to spend resources to get those resources, and you had to spend resources to keep your resources. And now, overall, there's more resources lost than gained. I think that if you look at a majority of wars, like, when you think about how many resources were spent on the war compared to how many resources were gained, I feel like sometimes it's like, I don't even know if it's even a fair comparison. I feel like sometimes there's just like, if you look at how much you spent, it's clear that you may have won the war, but when you look at your profit margins, right, you look at your cost versus your gain, like, I think everyone's in the red. Like, I don't think war is profitable for the global sense. Maybe for individuals it's profitable, sure, but if all we do is focus on who's going to profit for the individual, eventually there will be no one who can profit, because there will be nothing left to profit on, right? Because with that mindset, you are going to destroy yourself. Just as I was talking about with the Ouroboros, right? With the internet's, doing like kind of crazy. I don't think, like, with the way that things are going, like it's gonna destroy itself, right? It's gonna become unusable, and this world is gonna become unlivable because we just don't care. It's so stupid. I don't get it. I don't understand. But that's just me, I guess. I mean, it's not just me, but there's not enough people that agree with me because the majority is running the show here, and they're saying that more is good, and they don't even know why. They don't even they it's just getting comical at this point. It's just actually so embarrassing to be it's so embarrassing to be alive right now and be like, yep, these are the people in charge. This is how this world works. It's just embarrassing. It's actually so ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, peace out.